Hey, thank you for dropping by for my Bible study. And this is for Wednesday, the 7th of June 2023. And we're going to look at a part of Psalm 101, verses 1 through 8, Philippians 4, 8, and 9. Here's what I want to talk about. Godly entertainment. Godly entertainment. Think about that. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, give me thumbs up, make comments, help me get this out to more people. Those things kind of drive the algorithm. And I've changed the name of my channel, if you haven't figured that out yet, to Christian Ministry Central. Better reflects what I do here. I do a prayer ministry. If you have prayer needs, let me know it in the comments. I'll put out a prayer video for you. And we've had some prayer videos go 1,200 and 1,300 people praying for something. And I believe in prayer. I believe in prayer. Let's pray. Father, speak to us through these verses and help us reflect on what we do with entertainment and what we take in and what it does to our life, Lord. So give us wisdom about that. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. You know, one of the things I do for entertainment is may sound kind of funny, but I watch old cowboy movies from the 1940s, 50s, 60s, sometimes even the 70s and other times. But and I get to them sometimes on the regular TV and Hulu, and sometimes I get to them free on YouTube. That's where I watch the most of them. It's great old movies from the 50s, and that kind of stuff. When I was a little kid, you know. But I was watching a movie one day, and it was from the 70s, mid 70s. And it was a Henry Fonda movie. It's a cowboy movie. And it wasn't too long into the movie, all of a sudden, here comes a sex scene with Henry Fonda and some woman. You know what I did? I just click, turned it off. No mas. Not gonna look at that. I don't need that. Entertainment can be tricky, you know, especially if you give some consideration to godly entertainment. So I want to take a look at Psalm 101, 1 through 8, and consider godly entertainment. And we're gonna. David wrote this psalm, and there's some great wisdom, and he's talking about his kingdom and how he wants to establish love and justice because of honoring God, and that's the kind of thing he's talking about. And I want to look, first of all, at Psalm 101, 1 through 3, the first part of verse 3, verse A. I will sing of your love and justice. To you, O Lord, I will sing praise. I will be careful to lead a blameless life. When will you come to me? I will walk in my house with blameless heart. I will set before my eyes no vile things. Notice that he sings praise to his God because of God's love and justice. And remember that David was a lot of things. He started off as a shepherd, and he wrote all these. About a half of the Psalms were written by David, and they were music. They were put to music. He was a musician, and he sang of God's love and justice. Now, David was loyal and motivated by God's love and justice. And we need to be motivated by God's love and justice. I think about what Jesus said. Got to put my Bible back together. It's falling apart, folks. It's what happens when you use it hard for about 20 some odd years. I guess that's what you're supposed to do with the Bible, isn't it? You just beat the heck out of it and use it. And I banged this poor thing up pretty bad. But I want to look at Matthew 23:23. Just real quick. Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. And Jesus is speaking. He says, woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. Give a tenth of your spices, mint, dill, and cumin, but you've neglected the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You know, they tithe everything down to the nitpick and penny and all the stuff that they had. But he said, you neglected justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the other. We should be practicing justice, mercy, and faithfulness. That's the kind of thing David was trying to do. He's trying to practice justice, mercy, and faithfulness. And he was singing praise to God for his love and his faithfulness. And brings me to the point where if you go to church, I go to church, we have a praise time. I always have. I've been going to church for 74 years. There's always been a time of praise. What do we sing? Why do we sing in church? You ever think about that? You ever give that some consideration? Maybe it is what David was singing about. I want to read some of the verses again. Psalm 101, 1 through 3. First part of verse 3. I will sing of your love and justice. To you, O Lord, I will sing. What's he singing of? His love, God's love and justice. I will be careful to lead a blameless life. When will you come to me? He's saying, I'm singing of your love and justice because I want to live a blameless life. I want to live right, okay? So maybe that's why we should sing. Maybe that should affect why we sing and be part of the reason we sing. Because we're committing ourselves to lead a blameless life before God. We're saying, you know what, God? I'm singing this praise to you, and I'm going to do life your way with love and justice. So why would I lead a blameless life? Well, because it expresses God's love and justice. I will walk in my house with blameless heart. So why would he want to do that? Because he wants to express God's love and justice. We ought to live that way today, expressing God's love and justice. And today we're going to look what moves you, what drives you to live out, to express God's love and justice in your life. What always moves me, I look at what Jesus did on the cross, you know. You know what he was doing? He was taking care of justice for sin, for my sin. Because you see, God is a God of justice. If you violate his law, justice will be served. Okay, in other words, that evil has to be paid for. So God crawled in the skin of his son Jesus and came down here and paid for it for us. That's what he did. And that was love in action. And that moves me and motivates me to want to live his way. Do I always pull it off perfectly? No. But I'm motivated to want to live for him. And I want him involved in my life so that I can live for him. What moves us to lead a blameless life? Well, Jesus and his love and his justice on the cross, that's what moves us. If you look again at verse 2b of Psalm 101, he says, when will you come to me? When will you come to me? Why do you think he said that? Why do you think David said, when will you come to me? The point is this: King David depended on God coming to him so he could lead a blameless life. You know what? He's admitting that he doesn't do it alone, that he can't do it alone. I need to admit, I can't do it alone. I have to have God's intervention in my life. And that's how we need to all see it. We can live blamelessly. Can we live blamelessly without God's intervention? No, it takes the help of God and the power of the Holy Spirit, which we have living in us as a Christian. We need him to live blamelessly, to live the way he would want us to live. And then if you look at the third part of verse 2, I will walk in my house with blameless heart. Okay, David's house. David was the king of Israel, okay? David's house, he would function in the administration of his house, his kingdom, with a blameless heart. You know what his kingdom was? His house? It was his sphere of influence, okay? And so here's the point. What's my house? It's my area of influence. It's my sphere of influence. What's your sphere of influence? Well, you and I would want to function with a blameless heart in our sphere of influence. Why? So we could influence others, and so we could be consistent with the Lord. So David is saying that he's committed to Yahweh, not the ways of the world. And so that needs to be my commitment, to Yahweh, to my God, not the ways of the world. And then the first part of verse 3, I will set before my eyes no vile thing. Think about that. I will set before my eyes no vile thing. What he sees impacts his life, and what we see impacts and affects and causes things to happen in our life. What we see, what we hear, what we experience has an impact on our life, and it can drag us, it can pull us up, or it can drag us down, okay? If you're viewing vile things, they can draw us into vile behavior. Think about some of the stuff you see in movies and on TV. Pornography, violence, that can affect people. If that's what you see all the time, you get dragged into that stuff. Is probably the more proper way to say it. So we've got to be careful about entertainment because it has an effect on us. And then Psalm 101, verse 3b through verse 5. The deeds of faithless men I hate. They will not cling to me. Men of perverse hearts shall be far from me. I will have nothing to do with evil. Whoever slanders his neighbor in secret, him I will put to silence. Whoever has haughty eyes and a proud heart, him I will not endure. King David hates evil. He shuns the deeds of faithless men. So what clings to us? What is it that clings to us? Well, the deeds of the people that we embrace, the deeds of the people that we're close to, the deeds of the folks you hang out with, you tend to embrace those things. You come out like the people you hang out with, So he says he wants to keep men of perverse heart away. Why? They affect his heart, okay? So you pick up their deeds, you pick up their attitudes if you let them get too close. And he's saying, I don't want that to happen. I want them to be far away from me. So stay away from the faithless and those with a perverse heart. We become like the folks we hang around. And you know what? You can hang around with folks that are involved in entertainment by watching their entertainment. You watch the wrong thing. Watch a bunch of dirty jokes and stuff. Why? So it doesn't rub off on you and affect the way you live. So you don't want the perverse heart, and that can be expressed in entertainment. It can be expressed with hanging out with the wrong people. You don't want that to influence you. Stay away from those who slander others. How often do you see people slander each other in entertainment? Whether on TV, whether in the movies, slandering one another is constant. Okay? What gets glorified in entertainment is slandering each other, putting each other down. I was watching the big thing was on TV with Kevin Costner. What was that thing? Yellowstone for a while. And I quit watching it because people slander each other. They murdered each other. They put each other down. They cursed. It was not a good influence. So I quit watching it. Was it entertaining? Yeah, it was entertaining. But I quit watching it because it's vile. I don't want to watch that stuff. Also, being proud and arrogant. There's a lot of pride and arrogance in entertainment. I don't want pride and arrogance in my life. I want that gone. I want to be humble before the Lord, strong in the Lord, but humble before the Lord and not proud and arrogant. Haughty eyes and a proud heart. If you watch a lot of the entertainment today, haughty eyes and a proud heart's the normal gig, and people pick that up. I don't want that kind of involvement in my life. So if we engage in slander and arrogance in entertainment, it can rub off on us, and it ends up affecting us. And then Psalm 101, verse 6. My eyes will be on the faithful in the land, that they may dwell with me. He whose walk is blameless will minister to me. Okay? He wants his eyes on the faithful. Doesn't want his eyes on the faithless. A lot of the entertainment you see, you'll see your eyes will be on the faithless, not the faithful. So watch the faithful, not the unfaithful. There's some things you can find that are consistent, with one of the things I like to do is watch old. I got in a kick for a while watching old Billy Graham sermons. You can find them on YouTube. But Billy Graham sermons, boom, pops up. Great stuff, and entertaining. He whose walk is blameless will minister to me. I need to find that kind of thing to watch. And then model off of the faithful and the blameless. If you watch all kind of the vile entertainment, what was it? I was walking by the TV the other day, and what was it? They call it Modern Family or something was on. If that's the Modern Family, we're in trouble. And if people watch that and they start modeling their life off of that stuff, they'll be or the Big Bang Theory. That's what it was. It's crazy, crazy. Don't watch that stuff. So how does that apply to entertainment? It can affect you. It affects how you see the world. We need to not watch that stuff. And then Psalm 101, verse 7. It says, no one who practices deceit will dwell in my house. No one who speaks falsely will stand in my presence. Well, the king hates evil. He doesn't want people, he doesn't want to be influenced by people who speak falsely and practice deceit. He doesn't want that dwelling in his house. He doesn't want liars hanging around. He wouldn't be able to hang around with many of our politicians today, would he? He'd be out of luck. A lot of entertainment is all about deceit, falsity, dwelling in my house. What happens if the TV's in my house, right? And if the entertainment is all about deceit, falsity, where's the deceit and the falsity dwelling? It's in my house. I don't want that. Okay, so don't watch that kind of stuff. So why, if you watch it, you can be influenced by it and dragged off into the sin of all that nonsense. Well, look at Psalm 101, verse 8. Every morning I will put to silence all the wicked of the land. I will cut off every evildoer from the city of the Lord. Okay? He's going to silence the wicked and the evildoer. You know what? We need to get up every day and figure out ways to silence the wicked and the evildoer. Now, he could do that. He was the king, okay, and he could do that. But how does that relate to entertainment? I just need to not take it in, okay? If I don't take it in, it won't affect me. So don't watch nonsense on TV. Don't watch vile movies where they curse and they curse. I've watching Yellowstone. I've never seen so many F words in my life, except for in the Army. They use the F word all the time in the Army. But you know, and I was in the Army for 3 years, 6 months, 20 days, and 40 minutes. The F word was common. But they used it all the time. It's like it had shock value, and they thought that was entertaining. It's not entertaining. It'll drag you off into that nonsense. So how does all that relate to entertainment? Don't take it in. If you don't take it in, it won't affect your life. If you take it in all the time, it's going to be normal to you, and you'll begin living like that. And that's what you want to avoid. Now, Philippians 4, 8, and 9. I love this passage. Philippians 4, verses 8 and 9. It says this, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble. Okay, if something's not true, then it's a lie. It's false, right? Don't want to think about that. Whatever is noble, whatever is not noble, we don't want to think about that, but we do want to think about what's noble. Whatever is right, we want to think about what's right, not what's wrong. There's a lot of wrong in entertainment. Whatever is pure. We need to think about the stuff that's pure, not the stuff that's impure. Whatever is lovely, we need to think about lovely stuff, not ugly stuff. Whatever is admirable, not disgusting. We want to think about the admirable stuff. If anything is excellent, that's the kind of stuff we want to think about, not stuff that's the opposite of excellence. If anything's praiseworthy, that's what we want to think about, not the stuff that's disgusting, okay? If something's excellent, praiseworthy, we want to think about such things. We don't want to think about all the stuff that is the opposite of that. And then he says this is important. Verse 9, whatever you've learned and received or heard from me and seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. They knew him. Paul knew the people in Philippi. They knew Paul. They knew how he lived. And he's saying, use me as an example, okay? Live the way I lived. Use me as an example. Who do you have that is an example of how you should live? And what kind of entertainment would offer you an example of how to live? These folks had Paul. They didn't have TV and stuff like we have. They had Paul, and they had the games and some other stuff, sporting events. And most of those things were vile and didn't do anybody any good to go with them. But who can you look to as a good example? I always have to reflect on my grandpa. He's been dead since I was 12. I'm 74. been dead 62 years. He passed, he's been with the Lord 62 years, not dead. But the way he lived has changed my life. It's defeated a bunch of nonsense entertainment over the years. So how does entertainment fit in? We should only be watching stuff that's going to help us think right and do the right things. That's how entertainment should fit in. I was thinking about King David. King David actually, he wrote Psalm 101. And King David had a moment when he watched the wrong thing. And it affected the rest of his life, okay? He got up on the rooftop one night and he watched a woman on the top of a house nearby taking a bath. Obviously, she took off her clothes to take the bath. Her name was Bathsheba. David was the king. He noted that Bathsheba was a lovely woman. So he had Bathsheba brought to his house, and he had sex with Bathsheba. She became pregnant. So David brought her husband, who was in his army, his name was Uriah the Hittite, brought him back from the battle and said, go home and spend the night with your wife. He's assuming that they would have relations, and then he could say, oh, Uriah came home, got his wife pregnant. But he wouldn't do that. He was so dedicated to King David that he slept at the door and wouldn't go in, okay? So what he had to do next was he had Uriah the Hittite, this woman Bathsheba's husband, put at the front line and then pulled the troops back so he'd get killed. And that's why he said he was a man of blood. He got Uriah killed, and then he married Bathsheba. He took her as a wife. That all started because he looked at the wrong thing. He took in the wrong entertainment, and it drug him down. Now, we need to be careful about what we're exposed to, because it will drag us down or it will lift us up, one or the other. So what do I do for entertainment? Well, I watch the news, I watch some sports, and I watch old-time Western movies. They keep me out of trouble, get my mind headed in the right. And most of those things have good themes. Usually the good guys win out and the bad guys lose. So there's something to be said for that. We need to look for wholesome entertainment, not the typical stuff that's disgusting. And those are some thoughts about how you should look at entertainment. Now, again, I hope you'll subscribe, hit the bell, give me thumbs up, make comments, help me get this Bible teaching out to a lot of people. Bless your heart, have a great day, and I will talk to you again soon.